Welcome to my kitchen. One of the ways that I keep my meal prep time to a minimum is I always have a container of cooked whole grains in my refrigerator. As soon as this container is empty, I will cook up a new batch. Usually I cook enough it usually lasts us about a week. Rarely do I have to throw them out because they've gone off and we didn't eat them fast enough. And it's simple to do. If you have cooked grains at the ready, it makes meal prep so much easier and it really takes the thought process out of it. So today I want to talk about making the whole grains. And the other thing I want to mention is this is intact whole grains. Yes, it is high carbohydrate. And I wanted to just say that I can't believe how many people actually assume that because I've lost a lot of weight, and yes, I've lost 90 pounds, they think that I'm limiting my carbohydrates. And nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, a few times I actually have tracked it just because I was curious, about 70% of my total calories come from carbohydrates. And the other 15% from protein, 15% from fat. And while I'm at it, I do have an ebook available. And, my videos here are all about the food. But it's not all about the weight loss is not all about the food. It's actually only a small component of it. So what I've done is I've taken all those other things, the mindset things that are really important with losing weight and keeping it off, and I put it in an ebook, and it's 6 strategies for permanent weight loss, and there's a link to it in the description box below. So I hope you'll check it out. You can download it for free. Okay, back to the grains. So I've put all my whole grains out. I buy a lot of them in bulk, and unfortunately you have to buy them mostly online these days. It is possible to buy quinoa in bulk at Costco, and they also have brown rice at Costco in large bags, but there's a caveat with brown rice that I just want to talk about for a minute, and that is arsenic. Yes, there is arsenic in rice. I'm still not sure how much of a threat it is. There are some people who say that any amount of risk is too much, but then again, we take risks all the time. We drive cars, we use other chemicals that are probably far more risky than arsenic in rice. But I do take some precautions. You can wash it. If you wash the rice until the water comes out clear, then that's kind of the standard recommendation if you want to wash the arsenic out of your rice. What I've done is simply, I've limited the amount of rice that I eat, which is why we used to eat rice all the time. And that's why I started adding other grains. And I've found that I actually like the difference in texture. One of the things that we've really done is not just limiting the amount of rice that we eat, but also where it comes from, because apparently rice that's grown in the southern U.S. has more arsenic than rice grown in California or elsewhere in the world. So what I try to do is simply look at where my rice comes from and make sure that it comes from either California or, say, India or Thailand. The rice that they have at Costco, the brown rice, it has been, I think it comes from Alabama. So that's why I don't buy it there. And also I don't always buy rice in bulk. Sometimes I can get a CSA. If you live in New England, there is the Pioneer Valley Heritage Grain CSA that once a year you can buy a bulk. It's like 20 pounds, I think. You can get it in like 10 or 20 pounds of rice. And I'll put the link to that in below. And it's grown in Vermont. So if I can get that, last year we had a drought and the crop failed, so that wasn't possible. But if you live in New England, that's probably your best bet for local rice. If you don't live in New England, bulk rice is probably not possible. I haven't found any. In fact, if you know of a place where you can get rice that in bulk, organic rice, that was grown in either California or somewhere else in the world, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. So, that being said, I buy everything else in bulk. I got a bunch of Spelt years ago. One of the things you notice is grain all looks alike. It's really, they're very subtle differences in, say, the Spelt. The barley that I buy is a little bit lighter. This is my barley. You can get pearled barley pretty easily, and that has all the outer bran. All your fiber is taken off, so I don't recommend pearled barley. You want to get whole barley. And the other thing I have here in bulk, in a popcorn tin, is whole rye. I keep it labeled because it looks very much like the Spelt. And the oats look pretty much the same way. I've already done a video on how I cook oats. And there's a link to it. If you could see, there's that little eye with a circle around it in the upper left-hand corner. You can click on that and you'll find a link to the oats video. The one that looks decidedly different is quinoa. Technically it's a seed, not a grain, but it cooks up very much like a grain. When I make this dish, the two grains that I don't include are quinoa and Bulgar wheat, simply because they take much less time to cook and they get too mushy. The quinoa, it'll boil up in about 15 minutes on the stove, about 6 minutes in the Instant Pot. And the Bulgar wheat, you don't even need to boil it. You just pour boiling water over it and let it sit. So those are two things that I cook separately if I want to make them. I like to simplify my life and keep cooking absolutely as easy as possible, and sometimes I sacrifice quality over speed, and I'm willing to do that on a regular basis. Obviously, if I'm cooking for company, if I'm cooking for other people, I'll take a little more time, but when it's just us and everyday meals, I compromise that. And one of the things I do is I mix my grains, and the Spelt will take a little bit longer to cook if I'm mixing it with rice, but I'm willing to maybe overcook the rice a little bit or undercook the Spelt. I kind of like that chewy texture, and I mean, it works for me, and I hope that it works for you. And it's a pretty simple process. I'm going to show you, I have my Instant Pot out today. I'm going to show you how I do it in the Instant Pot. You can very easily boil it on the stove just as well. I mean, and I always mix grains together. I never cook a big pot of rye or whatever. I like that difference in texture. So let's get cooking. So I use 3 cups of water to 2 cups of grain. And whether I'm doing all rice or all Spelt, the Instant Pot, you just need less water. Not quite sure why that is. If I'm boiling it on the stove, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, and the Instant Pot, it's a 2-to-3. And for today's video, I am going to be using a half cup of brown rice. and a half a cup of farro, a half a cup of spelt, and half a cup of whole barley. And that's pretty much it. And then add my water. I don't rinse my grains. I don't think it matters. I rinse my beans, but I don't rinse my grains. I'm still here and I don't notice a difference in quality, so I think it's okay. I know some people do. Some people actually soak things like their barley and their spelt. But I don't think it's necessary. I've done it and I haven't noticed a difference in the texture. 18 minutes and we're good to go. If you want to take the fuss out of meal preparation and make this as easy as possible on yourself, always have a container of intact whole grains cooked and ready to go in your fridge. Like this video, and while you're at it, subscribe to my channel. If you click on the bell, you'll get a notification every time I upload a new video. Also, check out my 2 free ebooks. I have 6 strategies for permanent weight loss and 5 healthy salad dressings, plant-based and oil-free. Both of them you can find links to download in the description box. Thanks for watching.